Hey guys, Fred Kynes, AKK, all kinds of classics. Well, we're looking at episode 49. I'm continuing on with the fuel injection system, finalizing the bores for the injectors, doing some interference, making sure I don't have any interference, getting the throttle body mounted, those kinds of things, and talking a little bit about some of my failures on these valve covers. I don't know. I think 3, 4 times I've painted these things, and I got to still do them at the time that I'm speaking to you, which is after the video. But enjoy this one. Hello, hello. I don't know how many videos I posted of these, and more often than not, I try to sprinkle in the good and a little bit of the ugly. These guys, they were ugly. I sandblasted them, primed them, painted them, paint modeled, sanded them all down, primed them, painted them. I can't remember what happened the second time. The second time I don't remember. The third time I just wanted to polish them lightly, but this is just aerosol spray paint, Rust-Oleum. And Rust-Oleum clear. It's a valve cover, but I want it to stand out. And so after the third time, I tried to polish them, and it took paint up, and I let them dry. I mean, there's been a significant amount of time here, more than a month of pissing around. Baked them. Anyway, this go around, I 3 very light coats, just to the point of getting color, after wet sanding them all down with 600. And then 4 coats, and again, dust, and then progressively just a little bit thicker on the third coat and a little bit thicker on the fourth. And of course, when you dust on clear, you get a little orange peel there. You can see it in the light. Now, a little bit of orange peel isn't that big of a deal. However, look, and that's in the clear. It's not horrible. I could put that on the firewall side, but I'll know it's there, and shit like that drives me crazy. So I'll have to just very carefully, after a few days here of cure, I have to very carefully sand that sag out. It's the only sag in the whole damn works. So I'm down to one problem. I don't have any modeling. I don't have any chemical reactions, and I think that's what it was on the second go around, or the first go around. It's chemical reactions. And I took a piece of exhaust tube as I was painting it, and kind of mirrored the whole process. Cleaned the tube and sprayed it, and kind of mirrored the process as I was going, to make sure that I wasn't going to run into problems, and I did. And now it was my own. I just got too much build on that side. But that's immaterial. I mean, that I can very, very, very slowly come in and rub on just on the sag and get that taken care of. So those are done. These I did finish a little while back. These turned out very, very, very nice. And I went with the satin instead of a gloss. I was trying to stay with gloss, but I just didn't like how shiny they were. So I went with a matte or a satin finish. Anyway, both of them turned out just spectacular. I didn't clear coat the pan. Pan's down low. Not even worried about that. You're going to see pieces of it from the side, but no matter what, that thing's going to get, like every pan, this is a driver. It's not a show car, so it's going to get beat up and scratched from chips and stuff. And then I just went in and underneath, and if you recall, the sheet metal covers for the trans tunnel. I'm not going to drag the light out or anything, but you can see a hint of it. Oh boy, right there. those covers. I've got all those put on. Put the seal on them, the weather stripping on them, and then mounted those, put those underneath. They'll have to come back off, but it's a good place to put them, and it assures fitment. And I'm doing some seal crush and all that stuff. And then here, I relieve that out. I don't remember if I did a video on that already. So got that. That's ready to go. I stuck an injector in. You can kind of see that where the rail's going to sit. The valve covers, what are they? They're pretty tall. Say about 3 inches. Chrysler Firepowers are on the top side, so that's about 2 inches. So that fuel rail, he's going to set up. Let's just for the sake of debate, above the intake manifold, we'll add 2 inches to the highest part of the intake manifold. So we're 2.5 inches above the manifold at the highest point. Well, here, go back here, right at the water port with, So that fuel rail is going to be about the height of the top of the valve cover. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to come over with a pan with an engine cover that will also serve as the air cleaner. And it'll have to be a 2-piece. But I want to try to get in, cover all of that stuff. You see on this, we're looking at the back of the manifold. And I could have this on the front. I believe this manifold is, totally symmetrical, but that doesn't matter. I got the vacuum port back here. That isn't going to show. It all kind of depends. But in this configuration, imagining this as the back, because of course I can flip that around, right? The throttle cable comes in here, goes under this, and then, rum. And then the kick down cable comes in and attaches right here. So that, interestingly enough, having that kick down cable up in there is kind of driving me nuts, as well as the wiring for the throttle position sensor, the IAC, and the map. That harness is going to have to run in there. So I want to, pretty that up just a little bit. And I think that cover would, if I keep it long, provide plenty of space underneath, I can make something that looks pretty cool and gives off some flair, some look. And the color of it, I don't know. Maybe that copper again. Maybe it matches the valve covers. I was beginning to think maybe I do the texture thing to match that. That could even be the block color. I really like this gray. This gray looks good. Boy, my dusty. This gray looks good. It will set off very well against that. So it's a fleck paint, and it's a texture paint, not a fleck. But I'm just thinking that would be pretty. You're almost not going to see. I did test this against the manifold, and you access the oil, and it goes just above the intake, but you're probably not going to see any of that until you pull the cover off. So it'll be a detail. It'll be a pretty detail for whomever owns this, I suppose, down the road when they pull out. Oh, wow, that was an attention to detail. I'm almost inclined to take this off. If I do color this the same color, I'm almost inclined to just mill this off so it looks more along the lines of an OEM. This and this will be the same. So dismounting can be here now that you can access the bolts. because you can get a wrench in here now, and you can get a wrench in there. And so I'm thinking that maybe this would be more, I mean, of course it'll unbolt, but I mean, I'll keep those the same color if I spray out the manifolds, so those look like one piece. In theory, this, you know, I wanted button heads, a chamfer, and a countersunk screw would be a nice addition to that too, though. I don't know. But fuel rails on order, waiting for that to get that set up. And again, still odds and ends. I did yank the rockers out of the bath, out of the solvent bath. And now I got to disassemble and rebuild those, and then I can start the head assembly. Clean those up and get those covered, because they're ready to go. And, you know, I'm stretching, because I got a lot of other things that I'm doing. Trying to be available for a bunch of other things for the house. So, as well as weekends. All right, guys. Take care. Okay, you can see on the ground right there in these two, I got a 3-foot section of fuel rail. It's extruded. This was $10 a foot. $10 a foot. So now I got to cut my holes in to mount that rail on top of each injector. I have to open that's a 1/2 inch. That hole's a 1/2 inch, and I'll open it up more than likely for what am I thinking here? 9/16 will take me to 3/8 pipe, and 45/64 will take me to 1/2 inch pipe. All of my fittings are 1/2 inch pipe for my fuel rail, or -6 on the, excuse me, on the AN side, or the whatever you want to call it, JIC side. As an example, those are, let's look for a bulkhead here. I don't have a bulkhead. I'll need to get some more fittings, but I don't have a bulkhead connector, so I can't show you. But that's the -6, and of course, I suppose I'm going to set this down. Take a look at my vise here. While I open this, I suppose a guy could take a -6 AN. I don't know what the I think it's a 9/16 thread. Actually, that might work. The thing is, or I could do an ORB if I cut it into there. But in any regard, it's probably not wise to just screw, you know, this into there on a -6 without having a having it bottom on a taper. And so anyway, that's kind of the issue. So that'll tie. I will likely tee off of the passenger side, come in with the fuel line, and just tee there and catch this one and plug that in. More than likely, that's the process I'll use. And I just used a cutoff wheel to cut this off. I don't happen to have a bandsaw, but I do happen to have a mill. So now I'm going to chuck them and finish the ends to the exact same size. I'll just chuck them together. I made them a little longer. I want them to be 16 exactly. And you can see, you know, I got in the neighborhood. So I can just face them and cut them to the same length. But I'll clamp them, and then I'll face both sides so that they're the exact same length. Then I can reference off of one end, you know, on each one of them, and go from there. Now, a couple of things to consider. These ports are straight across from each other, which that, in my head, that just doesn't math out. No, they're not. They're not. They are offset. They are offset. Geez, I looked at that several times, but they are offset. So, regarding that, I could build my holes so that the ends line up the same. What's critical to me is that they don't extend past the manifold. I want them. They're going to be. These are 14 down the length, from that center to this. I made them 16. That's 2 extra inches. Of course, you got to fit a plug in on the one end and a fitting in on the other. So I need a good 1/2 to 3/4. And it really doesn't matter because it's going to be a flexible fitting. I think more than anything, I think I'll just make mirror images. Why complicate it? Make them the same. If I can mirror image them and flip one, yeah, I'll do that to get me closer. But it's a flexible hose, for crying out loud. Anyway, the game plan is a T because the oil fill tube, the distributor sits right here. If this were the back, the distributor sits here, and the oil fill tube sits right here. And I'll be in front of the oil fill tube. So I'm going to start dressing them, or cleaning surfacing the ends of them, and that's about as far as I'll get, I think. But if I can get any further, I'm missing my chamfers. I do have an old taper here, a tapered reamer, and I tried it on this hole right here for a lead-in because it's just too sharp for an O-ring. Well, I'm picking away at it. It's a beautiful day. Got the garage door open. Had that one open to let it flow through, but the wind comes and shuts it every doggone time. Anyway, as you can see, I do have the rails made. I've got them positioned, put on. Again, it's an extrusion. Follow my bore centers. In this case, the center line of this injector is 3/4 of an inch that way from the injector on the opposite. This is 1/2 of an inch away from that end. I offset them. They're mirror images, but I offset them because I'm just basically copying the same across the rail, right? That one's just shifted back, that one shifted forward. But they're identical with a 1/4 inch difference between the distance from this hole to here and this hole to here. And the reason why it's a 1/2 inch offset is because a 90-degree AN comes out 2 inches of stick out, fully threaded with a on an AN, this will have a fully threaded 3/8 to AN nipple on both of them, fully threaded to the seat. And the T, so that's the 90, the T that I'll use on the other side it sticks out 1.5 inches, the difference being 1/2 of an inch. So my hose will be straight. It's a visual thing. I took the liberty to set the manifold on the thermostat housing and the valley cover, but it's not. This sticks up, 1/2, probably even 3/4 of an inch. It's an unknown amount, but it's a significant amount. Just went to a car show and looked at a Hemi, and I looked at this before, and I can go back in videos, but I know it's a significant amount. I'm not overly concerned about that, but the hose routing will fit under here. Whether I go to these ports or the ones in the rear is left to be determined. They're all tapped now, but the rest of them, one will probably certainly have a plug, but the other one will be a heater hose feed, and the return will be back through the water pump, or you know what I mean. So now the challenge is, if I go back an inch and a half, I'm going to grab a tape measure here. If I go back an inch and a half off this rail, and it's also going to include my right. See that hose on this plane? I'll have to clock. If I clock down, I can snake in here. But this is where the distributor sets, so I may need to clock down and get under the distributor, right behind the, with the longer hose. Snake down under here and get in. But that fundamentally changes how I orient the T. So I haven't ordered the parts, I just got them all in the shopping cart. But I don't know. I know these aren't going to change. I know that offset's going to be there. It might just be a 90 here and a 90 here and a T in the line at some point coming down. I don't know yet. So again, I haven't ordered those parts. But I need to have my engine block here, and it's at the machine shop right now, waiting for pistons. So I could probably grab it, but then it's just all these little inconveniences aren't. I would rather be mine than any other businesses. So that's kind of how that is going at this point. Let's take a look at my part pile here. I think I'm looking around. I don't recall at the moment what I did with the distributor. This is just some of the more recent stuff, but that's what I gotta do. I can go and get the old Hemi one. I got stuff everywhere. This is the original Hemi distributor, and just taking a look at how it sets in the relief. It's kind of cool though, dual point, and all that. Not for me. So he sets down, and it's very close to that because I remember cleaning that up. So that adds a layer of interest. They're both setting on the machine surface of the manifold, so I think that's about the height the distributor is going to be. And so, strangely, I think I'm going to have to come down and around. I do. Well, that's where we're at. Just probably more than anything, sharing in the confusion, huh? But she does look pretty. She's starting to take some shape and some look. I'm not going to bring the fuel lines to the front. I'm just not going to. I did put 2 ports in this rail on the bottom. They're plugged right now with plugs. They're 1/2 inch plugs, and they're not pipe tap plugs. They bottom. But if I want to put on a gauge and a Schrader valve or a Schrader valve, which I probably will, so you can bring the pressure down. I mean, yeah, you could do something on the front, but this will look a lot prettier with aluminum plugs, Allen head, or Allen, whatever they call them, using an Allen wrench to thread them in and out. So I'm going to keep at chipping away, get the mounts made for attaching to the manifold. And I'm just starting right now with some 3/4 inch wide, 16 thick aluminum strapping. and we'll keep going from there. All right, guys. Thanks. So right now I'm working on these, and I got the holes drilled into them, and these will go onto here. Oh, I'm in the way. Maybe it'll be easier if I just throw a. So these will go onto here. Okay. They're coming up and they're just right now making contact with the rail. And at that point, I'll do a break to achieve that angle, and I'll thread two fasteners, two small number 4 or 4 millimeters probably, into the bottom of that. I'll do the break and the cutoff, but first I gotta find where I'm gonna place these holes. Right? If I do them staggered, I want to get across the bottom of the rail. I've got plenty of material for drilling and tapping, so that's the game that I'm playing right now. And then I obviously got to take them off and finish threading the ends 3/8 pipe. Okay, we touched on a little bit of the forming for the brackets, and you can see what I've done. Oh, how can I get a good look at this? I'll flip it over later, but so I'm coming off of the manifold. I formed it, and again, these are 7/16 holes, 3/8 bolts, so there is some room for the manifold placement on the block. And then I just formed each of these brackets identical to each other. It's a little sharper than a 90-degree bend on the end here. And on this side, then I just drill them. They're blind. They don't go through. There's a pile of material here. And so the only thing is that inside one, I thought many different things, but I think the ultimate solution was one of these. They're going in and then they're staying in, right? So got this side is on and tight, Loctite it in. You'll note that I have a couple of plugs here. I don't know if I pointed that out earlier, but then you got that for a Schrader valve and a gauge, or a Schrader valve gauge combo, but 2 extras. And I'm just getting ready to mark these out and drill them. Basically, I'm saddling the 2 sides with a couple pieces of aluminum, vice grip clamp, centers that on there, and then I'm scribing on the rail, pop the rail off, put a pilot punch in to pilot the drill bit, drill about a half of an inch. This is about 5/8, but my holes are on, to the shallow part of the hole, but my holes are on the outside edges. You can see. So there you have it. And then the last thing that I got, that they're not going to be in the way, but the last thing that I have is to drill and tap those for plugs, 3/8. And I said in an earlier video, 1/2 inch. It's all 3/8 pipe on here on these AN6 lines. So coming along real sweet. Thanks. Well. Just flipped it over. Those are the brackets. Right here. And right there. They profile real nice. They certainly hold it on. It looks really good. So at this point, I'll have to tear it all down. These are staying on. I Loctited those in. Stainless steel screws. And I'm not taking them out because I don't need to. So now I need to just jig and cut the 3/8 pipe tap into the both sides of this, and rails will be done. And then I'll take my tester and run through the injectors. Make sure that those are up to snuff. I did buy I bought a couple of cans of just carbon throttle body cleaner. Something about this could, just blogs, opinions. You get enough negative opinions, you get a little nervous, so I'm going to use the carb cleaner on the injector clean. And if they're bad, then I'll just replace the set. But if I got 8 good ones, I'm going to go with these because they got the right rate on them. But very happy with it. It turned out well. Moving on to the next things. Just finish this guy up and move on to the next. Have a good one.